Good evening. Canberra's fragile relationship with Beijing is under pressure again after China test-fired a nuclear-capable long-range missile close enough to Australia, setting off alarm bells right across the Pacific.
It's a highly provocative and calculated act of intimidation, coming just hours after Anthony Albanese signed a new defence treaty with Fiji.
As the Prime Minister enjoyed Fijian dancing in Suva, a Chinese submarine in the South Pacific was about to launch a nuclear-capable ballistic missile, placing our shared region on high alert.
Australia has been clear with China that we regard this as destabilising to the region.
They're like the neighbourhood bully, aren't they? So, they're sort of up late, drunk and burning the fence.
Chinese state media confirming the Navy on Monday noon Beijing time successfully launched a strategic missile carrying a dummy warhead, which landed precisely within the designated waters.
We were informed by China today of its intention to do this test. We are very concerned.
This the latest escalation from Beijing in the hotly contested Indo-Pacific. September 2024, China test-fired a similar weapon, also with a dummy warhead, from land into the Pacific. And in February last year, its Navy circumnavigated Australia, conducting live fire drills without warning.
This underscores the need for countries of the region to work together.
Today's test, right as the Prime Minister inked a historic military alliance with Fiji that includes a mutual defence clause.
An attack on Fiji from an outside force would trigger Australia's full support.
It does not threaten Fiji's relationship with China, nor Australia's relationship with China.
No expense was spared in the traditional welcome for Anthony Albanese, who, after a thumbs up from his counterpart, downed a bowl of kava, keen to keep friends close in the Pacific. Both nations' security tonight squarely in the spotlight. Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
And Josh Martin is outside China's embassy in Canberra. Josh, what will our government do in response?
Good evening, Max. The Albanese government is not impressed. Conversations have been taking place here in Canberra and in Beijing all day, and 7 News understands Foreign Minister Penny Wong will raise this issue at her next face-to-face meeting with her counterpart. Australian officials were only given an hour and 30 minutes notice of this test firing. The international standard is to give 24 to 48 hours notice. The Prime Minister will wrap up his meetings in Fiji tonight before flying to the Solomon Islands in the morning. He will hope to increase defence ties with Honiara, but military experts warn our defence cannot compete with China on its own. We must work closer with the United States and our Pacific neighbours. Max?
Josh Martin in Canberra there. Our foreign editor Hugh Whitfield joins us now. Hugh, do we know how Donald Trump is likely to react?
Max, the US president is unpredictable to say the least, but America considers the Indo-Pacific, our region, crucial to its own prosperity. And AUKUS is all about strengthening America's presence in the region. So there's no question the US will be concerned about this missile test. Donald Trump will attend this week's NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. Expect this latest provocation from China to be discussed, just as European leaders consider increasing defence spending and the US resets after a mission in Iran that lasted longer than Washington would have liked, that Australia refused to join. Sarah.
Thank you, Hugh. A young runner is in the fight for his life. Just hours after storming the finish line of the Gold Coast Half Marathon, Tyler Calleja fell 9 floors trying to get into his high-rise apartment.
For months, Tyler Calleja fought and trained hard to run the Gold Coast Half Marathon.
So that was a good sign for the start of the build.
Persisting through injury scares.
Genuinely thought I broke my shin at footy on the weekend. And literally the only thing I was worried about was how am I going to run Gold Coast next weekend?
But after racing a personal best on Saturday, the 18-year-old is now in the fight for his life after a night out ended with the young runner from Yeppoon falling 9 stories.
He was attempting to gain entry to the building and he fell while attempting to do so.
He was staying here in Surfers Paradise with friends. He came back late on his own without a key. It's understood Tyler reached the fire escape, making it to the roof before trying to scale down to his room.
We see falls all the time from buildings, and generally the result is quite tragic. So for him to have survived that is remarkable.
After landing on a car below, Tyler wasn't found for another 45 minutes. Family friends told 7 News he has his hometown rallying for his recovery. Because he's been there for others, running 100 kilometres for a mate with cancer, raising tens of thousands of dollars.
Feels like a blessing to see him every day.
Now with Yeppoon backing him in his toughest battle yet. Declan Milton, 7 News.
A child is fighting for life and 2 adults, including a woman in her 50s, are in a critical condition after a 2-vehicle crash in the scenic rim. Emergency services and a rescue helicopter were called to the intersection of Gould Hill Road and the Mount Lindsay Highway at Glen Eagle just after 2 p.m. Motorists are urged to avoid the area.
Children as young as 10 who commit serious crimes will be sent to jail straight away under proposed changes to the state's bail laws. The Premier has been accused of launching a political gimmick to hide failures in fighting youth crime.
The Premier admits the crisis isn't over. Despite his adult crime, adult time laws, the carjackings and home invasions have continued. His answer?
The minimum mandatory period to send the message that if you breach bail, you will go to jail.
But for how long? Days, weeks, months or years? David Crisafulli can't or won't say.
Good question. That will be up to Queenslanders to have a say.
They already are, from supporters.
I'm really looking forward to seeing it being implemented.
To critics.
If their adult crime, adult time laws were working, then the kids wouldn't be on bail in the first place.
It's just a political gimmick.
With fears it will lead to unfair sentences, especially for First Nations children.
The Northern Territory has led Australia in mandatory sentencing for juveniles, and it's been a disaster.
Youth detention centres remain stretched. 112 new beds in Woodford are still at least a year away.
These centres will be pushed beyond capacity.
We've ensured that our detention centres are staffed appropriately.
Almost 30 young people are currently in watch house custody across the state. About a third have been held for longer than a week, waiting to be transferred to a detention facility.
I think it's easy for politicians to come out with slogans.
Former National Children's Commissioner Anne Hollins has this warning.
Youth detention centres are creating tougher criminals. We're actually training them. We're training children into a life of crime. That's what the longitudinal data shows.
The Premier insists he's still invested in early prevention and rehabilitation.
Live now to our state political editor, Marlena Wapp. Marlena, why are juveniles being targeted before adults?
Yeah, Sarah, the Premier says adults will eventually be considered in tougher bail laws, but he's made it clear that young offenders are his focus. According to the Youth Justice Department, on average there are 394 serious repeat offenders per day.